What's going on, guys? Clone Force 23. I got my boy Alec here for another Deck Tech video. Alec, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Got another one for you today. It's going to be Wedge Tarkentown, and we've got a red heroism deck, so I have no idea what we're talking about. So, Alec, what do we got here?
Red Green Hero. What? I'm
It's
not familiar with this concept.
I will Alec can attest to this. I will pull every single red hero, like good rare or legendary, and then never use it and just hand it over to him. Be like, okay, here you go.
we, yeah. In fact, we just opened our cases for set four. At the end of it, was just here's everything that you need. Here's everything that I need. It's so called even.
We work well together. Dumped off all my
Yeah,
hyperspace falcons to him. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, what do we got, brother?
Talking about my boy Wedge. So I was very hype on the set one Spark Rebellion Wedge card, and I really liked it. I really liked the design of that card, and so when I heard Wedge was getting a leader, he's green hero. I would have loved for him to be red hero, but he's green hero, so we deal with it. And in like immediately, I'm like, okay, this seems kind of nuts. No, like you can play a pilot card for one less, and then pilots started getting revealed, and there's a like multiple of them that cost one. I'm like, oh,
Mm,
free pilots seem kind of insane. No,
checks
um,
out.
so, checks out. So it's it's another red green hero aggro deck rebels. Right. I mean that
Mm,
wasn't going to be a surprise. That was definitely going to happen. But way different than Sabine, and even like Poe plays. I feel more similar to Sabine than Wedge does. Whereas the game plan is the same, right? We're just aggroing out Rebel synergy and going from there. But Wedge is like, I'm going to make these big ships that are rebels and then have a rebel assault that deals like 19 damage in one turn.
yeah.
So pretty great. The main point of the wedge, though, that I do want to touch on is the wedge community is very much divided right now, I feel, in terms of do we run thermal oscillator or do we run Tarkentown? And it's definitely a combo deck, and so the allure of thermal oscillator definitely makes sense. It probably is the better thing to do, but I just felt in the current meta that we have, and then transferring that into set four with all these ECLs and all these turn one ambushes and all these turn one kill your turn one play, we just need a response to that. And if you just
Sure.
lose your turn one, if you're going up against Poe and you throw an A wing out there and they ECL into your A wing and you're an oscillator, you're just like, okay, my next ship I lay down probably also gets taken out by A wing, and then you just lost.
Yeah.
So I am firmly believing in Tarkentown as the way, at least until we see what changes going into the future. The five cards isn't, I feel, as big of a deal to keep versus not having that turnaround or even deterrent that Tarkentown can provide. So I personally believe Tarkentown is the way to go, but of course there are other opinions. Let me know how you feel about that. So, but the list itself is super fun. I mean, we're playing a bunch of new cards. Like, might be the deck that plays the most new cards out of any deck so far. So the big thing to touch on is all of our turn-ons are essentially space units, right? I mean, we have Luke, R2, and Neon as ground units, but more so they're there to be pilots. And so our turn ones are really, we just want to throw a ship out there. And then we have three pilots in the deck that combined with Wedge's ability cost nothing, which means you can equip them on turn one. And that's Neon R2, and then Big's Dark Lighter. And they all kind of do their own thing, which I like. It's all kind of okay. What game plan do you want to go with? But doing that on turn one especially in an aggro mirror, whether it's Sabine, whether it's Poe, whether it's just any one of these pilot aggro decks, Kaz. I feel like that can almost guarantee you the game if it goes unanswered, because you are playing an overstated unit that they have to kind of keep up with. Of course, we're very susceptible to upgrade hate playing that way, but you got to make them have it. So we're going all in on space turn 1 more often than not. And then our turn 2 is generally, get some damage in and then put out one of our other big ship targets for these pilots. And one of them is the Falcon, probably the best one, new Falcon. Goes a huge way in this deck. If you start beefing them up, can have 2 pilots on there. We have the classic Wing Leader play because we're playing all Rebels. Blue Leader is a really good response to they open a ship, and then you can just ambush that into there. And then actually Red Leader, if you have a pilot, gets discounted by 1. So a 3/4 in space for 3, that when you make a pilot attached to that ship, you get an X-Wing token. So that can go a long way as well. And then 4 is kind of the awkward turn. Essentially what we want to be doing is just setting up like a massive rebel assault to the point where they just can't recover from that. And it seems like, okay, well, isn't that what the decks used to do? Like, is that Sabine used to do? Kind of, but it was more like, it wasn't as streamlined and as powerful as this, and as explosive. Obviously, we've got some like powerhouse pilots in the deck, being Luke and Chewbacca. Those are the only pilots in the deck that actually cost you resources to play. But they are worth the resources that you cost to pay them. Chewbacca is obviously just bonkers crazy. If you can resolve to put them on any ship, it doesn't even matter which one it is, it's going to be impactful. And to get to play him for 2, as well as Luke being able to be played for 2, that is like so broken, because they cost 3 for a reason, because their effects are really good. And to do it for 2 and then maybe throw an R2 on the ground or a Neon Dumb on the ground, like those can be relevant things that you get going. You can still Wing Leader your ground units, so if you do have to switch to ground, there's that option. And then we're playing the typical close out the game cards with Fleet Lieutenant and 4 Cause. That's nothing new to this archetype. And then Bright Hope is just our counter to other aggro decks. And then the 2 Daring Raids are only non-hero cards for 4 Cause, which 2 is like super good, really good ratios there. And that is for Tarkin Town plays. If we need to do something about Tarkin Town and utilize it, we can do that. Another ship to note is we are running the new Red Squadron Y-Wing, which by itself on attack deals 3 indirect. And if they don't want their turn 1 ship or turn 1 play to get hit with the damage and then Tarkin Town, they got to take 4 to base from a 2-drop, which is really nice. And then Wedge himself is a 3/4 on 5 to be a pilot, which is not like below curve, but it's a little bit. Honestly, a lot of times I just find myself putting Wedge to the ground, getting in an additional 3 damage, and he's fine enough to do that. But if you do get to throw him on like a Bright Hope or something like that, it can be really nice just to beef up that ship. And then, that's the kind of core of the main deck. I've actually played this deck quite a lot. I've worked it out a little bit. There's like very few minor changes that could be done and tweaked, but I think this is kind of the core that you want. And then we do see actually a lot of new cards in the sideboard as well. We've got our 3rd copy of Daring Raid for, our normal stuff. We're bringing in Raid for Django and maybe Opposing Mirror. Fang Fighters, same thing. That's for upgrade decks and pilots and everything like that. And then we got 3 new cards, one of them being Stay on Target. And this card was originally in the main deck, actually in place of the Daring Raids, but having the Rebel Salts and the Stay on Target in the main felt like I didn't need that, especially with Fleet Lieutenant. But this is something that would come in against Control. So it's kind of like our Heroic Sacrifice. Now, you could, of course, run Heroic Sacrifice, and it's probably just, you could do the same exact thing, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I've been liking that card. And then playing Leia, I've been testing that out. I haven't been as impressed with Leia. Originally, I saw that. I'm like, okay, a Rebel with Restore, and it gives your pilots Restore. It seems okay. It's really just there for the mirror. Aggro mirror, but sometimes that one that you restore can change the outcome of the game. And then I'm trying out the timely reinforcements against Control, which is, I believe, for each 2 resources you make an X-wing that they have. So who knows? Maybe that'll be a good way to just
does give Sentinel for phase 2, right?
I believe it does. Yep, each of them.
Okay.
So it could be something where, like, some crazy deck that ramps and then it just goes super late game, has a bunch of ships, looking at yellow Vader. could be a relevant play against him. But yeah, the side deck has a little bit more flexibility at the moment. But yeah, overall, I really love Wedge. The deck is super fun to play. Like, set the meta aside, this is a super fun deck to play. I mean, who doesn't like to make ships and pilot them in Star Wars, right? And have a fun time. Mm-hmm. Will it stand the test of, getting past Sabine numbers or Poe numbers or Kaz or Django? I'm not sure, but he is a super fun deck. Definitely try it out if you get a chance.
Yeah, it looks big. I think it's got a lot of potential to be like a little bit wider than some aggro decks with the X-Wing token generation when it needs to be. But yeah, those pilots and just being overstated every turn can be problematic if you're not ready.
Right.
But well, yeah, I'll be excited to avoid this at my locals then.
Which we probably won't, knowing our luck.
Yeah.
Round 1.
If you're playing it, I'm probably playing against you.
Right.
Well, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. Let us know what side of the Wedge base controversy that you're on. But otherwise, make sure, subscribe if you're not. Hang on. We got some more videos coming this week, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.
Space tech, spaceports, TCG, card sports, of course, till my voice goes hoarse. Welcome, decking with the strategy, the energy, it's Clone Force 23.